Welcome to Digital Marketing ROI, the podcast that connects marketing to your business's revenue and covers everything you need to know to stay up to date in this crazy digital marketing world.
Welcome to Digital Marketing ROI. I'm your host, Shannon, and I'm joined once again by my favorite co-host, Krystal Vivian. Krystal, how are we today?
I'm doing great, Shannon. How are you?
I'm good. I see you have your logoed sweat pullover on.
Yeah.
I sometimes forget what I have in my closet, so they're nice and warm. And
I love this one. It's nice because it has the thumb holes.
Yes.
So it
keeps your hands this time of year.
Keeps my hands a little bit warmer.
Yes, we do have a little snow. It is November, but we went from 90 degrees quickly, I feel like, to snow. So,
yes,
but that's okay. Yes. I don't want 90 either.
No,
so.
There was literally there was one day where I was out with my daughter doing leaves and took a picture of her. Yeah. And she was sitting in the leaves, and she had her winter coat on, but honestly it was way too much. Like, she didn't need it. And then 3 days later I had a picture of her with snowman.
Believe me, I noticed it on social. I was like, okay, like the cutest snow picture, the cutest fall picture. I'm like, you need to put that in a
These are 3
frame.
days apart.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. That is good. Tis the season. We're rounding out the year. We've got a couple more podcasts for the year. We're going to do our typical digital trends to look for 2026.
Yeah.
We've got coming up, we're going to be doing our typical year where we talk about our favorite podcasts throughout the year. And then your social team is going to end the year with things to think about in social, because it's always such a great topic.
Yeah. We've had so much happen this year, and there's going to be so much more next year.
Yeah. It's ever changing, ever evolving, right?
Absolutely.
As I said, today we're going to dive into really those digital marketing trends that are going to define success in 2026, at least predictions, right? It's what I feel like. It's what some of the experts out there that I have some great stats to talk about. All of these trends is really what we've been talking to our clients about as we renew, right?
Yes.
So we know that the digital landscape is shifting faster than ever. We're in that trend right now. And business owners who understand the changes are going to have a massive competitive advantage by staying ahead of the game.
Yes. I think this year more than ever.
Yeah.
I think we say that a lot of years. And it is true that you want to stay ahead of the game. You need to be aware of what's happening, trending, and know how to incorporate that into your strategy. And if you do that really well, you will be ahead of the game. But I think we're at a precipice now where that is the most true that it has ever been, because things are changing so quickly.
And the top two that we're going to dive into, we talked about last year, right? Yes. Which is what's happening with AI search, the streaming dominance, but it really comes down to the strategy behind all of this. So it continues to evolve, and just staying ahead of the game. Even though it's not new, it has evolved. And I think that's the key takeaway that I would like business owners to think about. There's not a lot of new I'm talking about today. It's just the evolution of these digital trends that just start to become more top of mind, and we're using these channels differently now.
And they're more ever present, and how we're using them is totally different. So let's start the conversation. I know that you already gave away a couple of them, but let's start the conversation with what is probably the biggest disruption to digital marketing that we've seen since maybe the advent of digital marketing, which is how consumers are searching for information has shifted majorly because of artificial intelligence.
Yes.
How is AI transforming the search behavior, and what does that mean for businesses next year in 2026?
So I found a stat that I thought was phenomenal, and we just had a general sales manager meeting today that I did a training on AI to get everybody in the room thinking about how they search. But let me read the stat first. More than 1 billion people now use AI platforms like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini monthly for information sources. 1 billion, more than 1 billion. Let's think about that.
That is a ninth of the world's population.
There you go. It's crazy. So one of the examples I gave is how consumers are searching. So I relate it to, if you think about a car dealer, back in the day, a car dealer would have one location. And then they're like, you know what, we should have, right down the road, we should have just our used imports down there. And right down the road over here, we should have maybe just our certified pre-owned. And they start opening dealerships all around them when they didn't really have that much more volume in cars, but they were splitting the pieces of the pie smaller. So if we take that same theory and we think about how consumers search. So you put something into Google, and by the way, the knowledge graph that has been part of the algorithm, right? The secret sauce of how people search and what responses the Google or Bing will give to you. That's the algorithm, right? that was always part of how Google was built. It was always AI. AI has always been part of that, but it's just evolved now. So now instead of the first thing you see when you do a search on Google, instead of it being a paid ad or an organic ad, it's throwing in another level, which is powered by AI generation, right?
AI overview.
AI overview. And then let's add another component now. Before, we would go to our phone and you either were on Safari or you downloaded an app for Google Chrome and you did your searches that way on your mobile phone. Now, guess what? Now people have downloaded ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. Oh, and we do that on our desktop as well. So where I used to spend so much time with research on Google and pretty much only Google, I barely go to Google for those searches anymore unless I'm looking for more location-based. But even I went to Milwaukee not too long ago, and I used everything out of my paid Claude to tell me where to go, the best reviews, because it did a really good job of organizing that. So now let's think about all those ways that I'm doing this. I have a ChatGPT on my phone. I have a paid version of Claude on my laptop. I still get into my Safari. I have Google Chrome on there. I'm using my desktop Google and Bing here and there. So now we have so many different ways that consumers search that there's different ways to deliver that message. And that is why organic search is down on everybody's website right now.
Yes.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yes, because we're still getting the answers.
Yes.
But now we don't have to click through to your page. And I remember back when the beginning of SEO, right? And how people were like, oh, if you don't have if you're giving too much information, if you're following these SEO rules, then Google's going to steal your traffic. And when Google introduced, I forget even what it was called before it was AI overviews, where they would just give you little snippets and you can click on the questions.
I think it was just AI generated, or it would say...
But it wasn't AI because they renamed it.
They do the same thing. So if I could show you a history of what they name the paid ads on Google going back 10 years, it's what they keep doing with AI generated. They're trying different naming conventions because some people are afraid of the word AI.
Yes. And they've been doing this, but they also, because AI became so very quickly socially accepted by most people, that they were like, we've had this tool already, so now we can actually call it artificial intelligence when it was there all along. But when people were like, oh, all of our traffic is going to go down because Google is doing this, and it didn't. We just changed our strategy. And it's the same thing here. It's yes, our organic traffic is down because of all of these things, but ultimately, people still need this information. So your strategy has to just meet where that is going. So what does that mean for businesses? What should they be doing?
So the stat that should be alarming to people is organic search is down nationally on an average of 25%. We focus more on SEM, and so our clients are still doing pretty good with SEM, although that volume has gone down slightly in some cases. Some cases I see it grow. There needs to be a combination. So there's a couple more stats I want to talk about. So the big shift is, for years, the way that we searched was very keyword driven. And then it became very conversational. And that conversation was changed in Google on how the search queries were happening, right? They had to adapt. And now we're going one more level, which is deep end thinking. And we're asking AI to do things that we would never probably have asked Google to do because it thinks differently. It thinks like a human almost, right? But there is no human AI.
It doesn't think like a human. It interacts with us.
It interacts, absolutely.
It gives us answers. It tells us that we're pretty. It tells us that we're right, even sometimes if we're wrong.
Yes.
And so because of that, we have a more familiar conversation with it. Whereas with
almost
Google,
like they're our friends.
Yes, because with Google, it might say, hey, my drain is clogged. How do I unclog my drain?
Yeah.
And you're looking for the information and you're parsing through and you're actually going through multiple different websites to find that answer. But if you go to Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini to answer that question, you say, hey, my drain is clogged. How do I fix it? Claude might ask you a question back. Well, why is it clogged?
Right.
Which drain?
That's exactly right.
Why is it clogged? Is it hair?
You
is it
just
grease?
nailed the thing that the business owners need to remember. Number one, they have to know that their organic search is down. Number two, they have to remember that they have to be able to answer these questions better and better. So we have actually launched what we call, we've always done blogs, but we've launched AI answer blogs with your team on the content side to help a lot of our business owners with that. So this is just, think about those frequently asked questions, but we're trying to go even deeper because we know that AI is going to talk back to us, and we want to be able to make sure that we show up whenever and wherever. That's why directory listings are important.
Yes.
SEM is going to become more and more valuable than ever before. So if you are a business owner that isn't doing SEM, you need to look into it. If you, at the very least, you need to look at adding blog content like AI answer blogs. Make sure your directory listings are all up to date so that you are found when so many different versions of searches out there now. It's not just Google and Bing anymore. It's Google, Bing, and every single AI platform that lives out there is going to need to be able to find you and take you to their website. Voice search has increased 78% since 2023. So all these things are going to work together. And really the smart strategy is you need to be optimized for both traditional search engines and AI platforms at the same time.
Yes.
So if you are not thinking about AI right now as a business owner and haven't even touched into it, I think last year we talked more about AI policy and how to use it internally. I really want business owners right now from a digital trend standpoint to be thinking about AI, not only how it can change your business, but how your consumers are going to find you.
And think about it for your business listings.
Yes.
Because your business listings, the description of your business should be optimized to how AI might pull in your business or reference your business. The content on your website needs to answer those specific questions. So a blog, we might have done a blog 3 years ago or even a year ago for a plumber about how to fix a drain. And it's going to be very basic, very simple. With an AI answer blog, we are going to get very specific in a subheading of how to unclog a drain clogged by hair, how to unclog a drain in your kitchen, how to unclog a drain in XYZ in these different scenarios. And it's going to answer every single question within that blog post that you could possibly have. Making sure that is on your website and that it is complete and accurate information.
We talked about this. Actually, I used a plumber example today in the GSM meeting, which when I was giving the example was that we have a local plumber that just does SEM with us, which is great. They show up, they have a great market share, but they're missing something because they're a service industry. Not everything is as straightforward as I need a plumber. Sometimes I literally was pouring Drano down my drain yesterday and doing some searches because it's not unclogging the way it should be. What's my next step?
Yes.
What can I do? Or maybe do I need a plumber now? So that's where those tie in together. Is I don't need to brand that as much and be like, use me as a plumber. I just need to make sure that as a plumber, I'm found, whether that's through an AI search or through Google SEM emergency plumber.
Yes. When people are having problems, you need to be providing the answers.
Yes.
That is what it is. And you need to provide the answers where they are, which is they're searching through Claude, they're searching through ChatGPT, and they will get to your website. It is a longer path.
Yes.
But they will get there. And also, those tools are going through your website. We always used to talk about the Google spiders going through your website for SEO.
It's the same crawling, same algorithms.
And ChatGPT are also crawling it now, and they are evaluating the content on your website very specifically to what they need and to the types of answers or the types of questions that people
because
are asking.
their credibility is at stake if they're not delivering the right. And we all know, if we don't know, AI is wrong a lot.
Yes.
Like you have to be very careful with that. So understand that. But the more accurate information that we provide for AI to find,
the more accurate it will be.
The more accurate it will be. And let's be clear, we could talk about this for the whole 30 minutes.
Oh, easily.
But more to come in 2026. But that's the number one digital trend that I really want to talk about is how AI is transforming how consumers search. So as a business owner, you need to think about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a great point. So let's move on, though, to our second trend, which is, we've talked about it before. We're going to talk about it even more next year. Streaming video. We hit the tipping point earlier this year. In 2026, it's expected that streaming video will equal 70% of traditional TV spending by the beginning of the year. It's not emerging technology. It's mainstream. Everybody's streaming. Everybody's using these services. The cords are being cut or they're being forgotten about and left in the dust. How should businesses be thinking about video strategy differently now going into 2026 than they did a year ago?
So even at the beginning of the year, we've been talking streaming forever, but what happened in May was Nielsen came out with their reporting showing that streaming finally hit a tipping point. Okay. So the tipping point means that if you lay out linear TV, line it up with cable, that also probably includes the people that are still doing satellite. There's not a lot of them. And then you put that up against streaming. The tipping point is that there's only about 20 to 24% of consumers that have a cable box still. There's only about 20 to 24% of consumers that have a linear TV that that's where they're getting, maybe it's from Dish, maybe it's from whatever, but they're watching their linear channels on that. Those two combined still don't surpass the 44% of consumers that are streaming video. So now there are more consumers streaming video than there are with old traditional cable boxes, satellite TVs, linear. Okay. So once that tipping point happened, if you're that business owner that is still buying traditional TV, you are only reaching less than a quarter of the audience if that's the only thing you're doing. Now, if you're coupling that with streaming, you're doing a great job, because now you've got that 20% plus you're almost 45%, and now you're reaching a good amount. That's the smart way to do it. But most people can't afford to do it all. So if you have to choose, why would you choose? Number one, why would you choose just to be with the local NBC station or CBS station? That is really limiting and deciding that all TV viewers are watching just that. We know that's not happening, right? Even if you want to buy the 6 o'clock news, it's still only about 20% of viewership. But if you can buy streaming and you can buy and follow that consumer wherever they are at. So for instance, we have access to over 93% of streaming inventory. So why wouldn't we make that choice and layer in targeting and layering in things that will take us along the consumer journey, instead of just saying, yep, they're watching the local CBS. So that's the biggest change that's happened, and really that we need to be screaming from the rooftops, is the tipping point happened. We did a whole podcast on it. We're going to talk about that in our next podcast, because it's one of my favorite, because it's so valuable of what we learned. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think second is that more and more consumers are okay with not paying anymore. They don't want to pay. So more and more what's called FAST. So that's free advertising streaming platforms. So more like Pluto TV is like one of the number one free. So if I want to watch my local CBS, I'm not paying any money for it, but I'll watch those ads. So as consumers start to shift and they're like, wait a second, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I'd be like, I pay for no ads.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's, wow, this adds up. And when grocery bills are high and other things are high, where do you cut?
Yep.
I'm going to cut that cable bill. I'm going to cut that dish. I'm going to cut back on my subscriptions and start getting delivered ads.
Yep.
So instead of Peacock being $19.99 a month, I'm going to go down to the $4.99 a month package or the $7.99 a package, and I'm going to be okay with watching a few of those commercials. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Client, you can be on Peacock. You can be on Amazon Prime. You can be on ESPN. And by the way, you don't have to choose and say, yes, A, B, C, and D. We're going to follow the consumer journey.
Because it's more about following the people. Because it's more about following the audience and not following the content. So I think that there's this perception that we run into a lot with clients of, I watch the 6 o'clock news on NBC every single night, the local news, or on whatever local station is most popular. So does everybody else. That's not necessarily true.
They're probably also watching it because they've bought the weather spot and they want to be on. They want to see themselves on a commercial.
But if you start talking to the people around you and asking people, and also thinking about other people in other generations, they're not watching that.
No.
But you still want to reach them.
Yes.
And one of the number one questions that we get from clients is, how do I reach younger audiences? How do I reach Gen Z?
Right.
How do I reach even millennials?
Well, this
still?
is how.
Millennials are still considered the young audience for now.
They're in their 40s.
We're in our 40s now. I'm in my mid-30s.
Yeah, you're not, but they're,
But yeah, that's where we are. But if you want to reach those audiences, they're not watching the cable news at 6 o'clock.
That's so
true.
true.
And it doesn't matter it shouldn't matter what they're watching. We want to find them.
Right.
Whether they're watching football, or whether they're watching the local news, or whether they're streaming reruns of Parks and Recreation, like I've been doing lately, that's where you want to find those people.
My daughter watches HBO Max, and I don't pay for the subscription. I'm seeing local TV on my HBO Max because we have the ability to run our inventory there. And if you look back even 5 years ago, the way that linear TV or just commercials in general, video isn't just for awareness anymore. It used to be extremely upper funnel. And by the way, I can still deliver upper funnel branding, and there's a way to do it, but it's very cost effective, and I can be very strategic with my zip codes. I don't have to pick a DMA and just run there. So anymore, streaming drives full funnel performance from that discovery phase all the way to a conversion. And that's something TV has never been able to give us. Traditional, linear, even cable, they cannot do the conversion tracking at the same way I can. The last thing I will talk about, and this isn't me, maybe it's me throwing some people under the bus about this, but when we sell our inventory, we work with a partner, like I said, that has access to over 93% of inventory. We do not have any skin in the game to tell our clients where they should run.
Correct.
When you're buying from a cable company, when you're buying from a local TV station, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I can go there, I can streaming." But they're first and foremost going to put you on what's called O&O. It's their owned and operated inventory, because their profitability matters, and they're not going to jump to programmatic, which is what I sell. And by the way, programmatic is not a dirty word. Programmatic means that I can target much more precisely than anybody else can if they're selling you O&O. And I will dispute that with anybody. They have ability. Cable has ability, and they have some great O&O platforms. That doesn't mean that I don't have the same access to them, and I'm not going to limit you to them. That's the difference. Yeah. So I really think it's important for us to talk about that advantage, and then the advantage of strategic targeting. Precise targeting down to a household level, search level. I can know age, income, demographic. I can know that you've been searching for new Dodge Ram right now, right? I know those type of keywords, and I can target consumers a lot better. And I can be in your living room. I can be on your phone. I can be on your tablet. I can be whatever device. But I'm sure as heck going to be in your living room, because that's where streaming has moved to, is almost all connected TV, which is that large screen smart TV sitting in your living room.
Yep. 100%. So another thing that we're hearing a lot about is privacy changes, first-party data. We've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
The cookieless future that we've been living in for a long time that Google still hasn't caught up to.
Yes.
What does this actually mean for local businesses trying to target their ideal customers in 2026?
Look, I'm going to make this as simple as possible, because we have talked about this ad nausea, and Google is still not a cookieless world. And for those listeners that don't understand, the old way that targeting happened is we followed the cookie crumbs, right? You get tagged with a pixel and it follows you around. The match rate can be as low as 35%, maybe as high as 60%. We haven't been doing that for years. There's still digital agencies out there because it's the cheaper way to buy inventory. If you're buying directly from Google and you're buying their Google ads, they are still targeting through cookies, and there is not a good match rate. Everything we do, we work with a company called Simplify. Everything they do and have been doing for years is a cookieless world. They are working with more longitude and latitude. We are doing cross-device matching. We have much more accuracy. We're looking at sometimes 80 to 90% match rates. Very different than the highest cookie could go at 60. You might be buying something at a very cheap rate, but if you're only reaching 60% of them, or 50 or 40, is it really a good rate? Wouldn't you rather be getting 80 to 90% match rate and pay for a quality targeting? That's really what it comes down to. So I don't want any business owner out there to worry about, when they're doing any time of programmatic, that they have anything to worry about with their privacy, because any solid partner in the digital world that you're working with is already compliant. So that's one thing you can take off the table. Where I want to talk about it with digital trends is I want consumers to continue, or I shouldn't say consumers, I want our clients, and I want small business owners and large business owners to continue to layer in first-party data. So first-party data is continually going to be valuable, but sometimes first-party data isn't enough, because it's a lot of times your existing clients or your wannabe clients. You still need to go out into that programmatic world and find new clients that become existing customers. So it's this partnership where you constantly want to go after new business and existing business. And your existing business usually is your first party data.
Yes.
So what I would say when it comes to a trend that they need to think about is don't worry about privacy. We've got it handled. If I'm working with a client and I really want to enhance a campaign, they give me the targeting message and I go find those new customers for them, right? And I layer whatever channel I want to do, whether I'm finding them directly through a display campaign, I'm doing it through a streaming campaign or through SEM. I can then layer in a first party list, which is called addressable geofencing. So I can take your list and layer that on top of some of those branding solutions I just talked about, specifically streaming and display, and enhance that message. I can even change the message that if you're already somebody that we work with, we're going to give you a better deal.
Yes.
So I can send a different message to them than I am to my brand new people. So where consumers are really leaning into anymore is they are only signing up for things that they want more information on. They want ads delivered to them that are relatable. Right? So first party, I feel like, is getting better and better, that we're being more quality over quantity. So if you have a good first party list, whether that be email, whether that be addresses, I can take those addresses, I can target them. I just can't know their name. And I can go after them. I can deliver a streaming video in their living room. And then when they leave their house, I've connected to their mobile and I can do cross-device matching for the next 30 days and deliver whatever device I want. So I can take all of this first party data, layer it into those people we're already going after that are new business, and have a very strategic campaign that includes your existing customers. So that's the way, when I think about digital trends, that's what I want a takeaway to be from today, is really lean into the strategy behind how to accelerate what you're already doing, but don't forget about, you still got to go get new business.
Always have to get new business. Yeah.
So those are really three. I could go on, but those are the three that I would think about for 2026: AI, streaming, and your first party. If I give you too many, we could just go on, but I think those are the ones that really, they tie in. And by the way, AI alone, there's so many things that fall underneath them. That's
100%.
That's your listings, that's your SEO, that is how your SEM operates, that's those AI answer blogs. Like, so many things fall under that are trending this year, but that's for another time, that we have a deeper AI conversation, I think.
And we'll be having a lot
more of those
for
yes.
2026.
Yeah.
So, well, let's wrap it up then. Let's bring it back to the topic of the podcast. We always like to finish talking about revenue. Given all of these massive shifts, in 2026, what's the ROI impact for businesses that will adapt now versus those who just wait and see what happens?
Okay. The ROI question's a little bit different for me than it normally is. I really try to bring it back, tie it to a number. To me, based on where digital marketing going is in 2026, I'm going to simplify it in a way that what we've been doing with all of our renewals this year. Every year, even if somebody isn't renewing with us at the end of the year, it's a great time to measure January through October, January through November, and see what is the data telling us to make sure we're on track to pivot or shift in 2026. What I would bring all of this back, all of these trends we're talking about, everything with digital marketing, you have to know your ROI yourself first. So I can bring you every trend in the industry. I can tell you all the great things are going. But if you can't assign a value or determine how you're going to measure a return of something you're doing before you do it, then what's the point of doing it? And by the way, I'd say 90% of our clients do it without a measurement. And my job and my digital consultant's job and your team's job is to help them tie it back to ROI, even if we give them a baseline and they play off of. Because I'm amazed. I know what everything costs me down to the penny. Here at every solution, every vendor we work with, I know every cost. I know what my profit margin is. I know what my expense is. So should every single business owner we deal with, especially when it comes to marketing, because how else are you proving it works? We have a car dealer right now that is struggling selling cars, and sometimes our hands are tied. Sometimes the products that you are selling, we are handcuffed, or you're not hearing what we're telling you of where the best ROI is for your dollars, because we're reacting instead of being proactive to it. And so my suggestion for ROI is to be very proactive in 2026 and sit down. Any business owner needs to sit down with their management team and look at every product or service they sell and assign a dollar amount to, and then figure out how we're going to measure that with any marketing, and not just digital. Digital shouldn't just be held to a different standard than radio or TV or billboards. Figure out how to measure that as well.
Absolutely. Got it.
All right. I think we covered. That was good.
Yeah, I think that was great. Thank you so much. I feel like every single episode, I just learned more and more.
Well, I'm so glad.
Thank you.
Thank you to our listeners for tuning in today for what I think is a critical look at 2026 digital marketing trends. We know this landscape is changing fast, so we're going to continue to enhance these topics we talked about today, and feel free to, if you ever have any questions, reach out to us. We're more than happy. Or if you have questions you'd like to add to our podcast, we'd love to hear from you. This is Shannon Allen, and we'll see you next time on Digital Marketing ROI.
You've been listening to Digital Marketing ROI from Federated Digital Solutions. Do you have an idea for a future episode or a burning digital marketing question? Text ROI to 45364 to get a link where you can share your idea. Subscribe to get new episodes every other Thursday, plus Tip Tuesday insights every week.
Podcasts by Federated Media.